If you guys don't know Shakira, we love Shakira here. She's a tax hero. That's what we like about her more than anything. But Shakira is lovable for another reason today, and that is because she has pissed off a whole bunch of feminists by talking about her take on the Barbie movie, which came out 8 months ago now and is somehow still unbelievably culturally relevant because they're still asking all of these celebrities about it. And she talks about how she went to see it with her sons and they didn't like it. And she said she had her critiques of it as well. So this is what she said. I'm just going to read her quote. She says, "My sons absolutely hated it. They felt that it was emasculating, and I agree to a certain extent. I'm raising 2 boys. I want them to feel powerful too while respecting women. I like pop culture when it attempts to empower women without robbing men of their possibility to be men to also protect and provide. I believe in giving women all of the tools and the trust that we can do it all without losing our essence, without losing our femininity. I think that men have a purpose in society and women have another purpose as well. We complement each other, and that complement should not be lost." I don't think she understands how hot of a take that is in current.
Probably doesn't.
Which is why I'm kind of always fascinated by the idea of like who exists in the Hollywood sphere and orbits the culture war without actually being a part of it. Right. Because it kind of seems like a great place to be, if I'm being completely honest, that you could kind of live there and not really have to worry about these things or think about these things at all. Because let's face it, most Hollywood moms, as we've seen with a lot of them, buy into the patriarchy or the criticisms of the patriarchy and buy into the feminist narrative whole hog, not just for their daughters, but for their sons as well. Right? We got a $20 one here from Mike. He says, "Remember, people, those hips don't lie." No, they don't.
They do not.
They do not lie.
They are very truthful.
I think that not being American helps.
Yes.
Perhaps.
Well, yeah.
I mean, clearly. I've been told, somebody can let me know, perhaps I'm wrong, but I've heard that Spain is also pretty woke these days.
I don't know.
I hate that term.
But I've heard, it's my understanding that like the Western speaking or the English speaking world in the West is where it's kind of like the most poignant and most having the most effect. It's having feminism is having a significant impact in India, if I understand correctly, because in India women need some help. there's some rough stuff going on there. Yeah. But yeah. You know, like it's still the Western, Western world is where it's kind of most poignant.
The reason I had that comment was because before, if you guys remember, Gal Gadot had some comments during her initial press tour when they were first announcing the Snow White movie, where she talked about how that Snow White wasn't going to be saved by the prince. Whatever, right? That she didn't get much criticism for that because everybody hates Rachel Zegler, but she had some very similar comments to what Shakira said here a couple of years ago when they were promoting Wonder Woman, where she basically said, "I want movies that don't put down boys but also uplift them as well as the girls," and those type of takes are just not that common in this industry anymore from most of the women, and that what goes the same with Shakira. She's also not from America, Gal Gadot being from Israel. So you've got multiple women who say these things that just don't have the pervasive American influence of feminism that seems to embody most of the female celebrities. Not all of them, but obviously a lot of the more vocal ones. So I just wonder how much of it is just not being from America.
I don't know. I do think that like when it comes to like Latin women or people that are from South America and stuff, I think the language helps a little bit because of the masculine and feminine parts of it. But I don't think that it's just exclusively non-English speakers.
No, it's baked into the culture.
Yeah.
And she's she's Colombian, but she owes like a bunch of tax money to Spain. That's what it is. She owes the Spanish government a bunch of tax money, which, of course, I'll have to add her to my tax hero wall I have over here of pictures of celebrities who have bravely stood up against the government. And the idea of talking about protect and provide was actually kind of shocking to hear from that, because I just don't imagine most celebrities, especially females, would use that language, because that's ascribing a certain amount of status to a man, that's his job, when most of them just don't see that as reality anymore.
So I mean, the Latin women aren't quite the same as like the average progressive. No, I don't think that it's not like they're immune to it. You look at someone like AOC, right? But the culture is part of it. But that's what insulates people from progressivism and like the left kind of the left's operating system is like a virus. It infiltrates and changes the culture. So the strength of the Latin culture is why the left can't infiltrate the same way. When you look at the way that Catholics are nowadays, it's like it's very infiltrated. The Catholic Church. You know, the Pope is very, very progressive. There's a lot of Catholics that are doing some stuff that ain't very Catholic, or at least not what you would consider typically Catholic. But yeah, so what's culture is what insulates you from leftism. So the stronger your culture, the less the left can actually infiltrate and take it over.
But she's part of an industry that's whole MO is to be part of that infiltration technique.
Well, I mean,
especially music. Music, long before movies and television, pushed women independence. Long before. I'm just saying.
I'm aware.
Pop music.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean,
oh yeah.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I mean, I get what you're saying. And progressivism is something that does come, that frequently uses art as a vehicle.
Yep.
But again, I think that, like I said, the cultural this cultural significance of like Latin culture is why the left can't, even whether it be Hollywood or whatever. There is a retention of that culture, and culture insulates you from the kind of progressivism, because the whole point, like, progressivism tries to dilute your culture. It tries to dissolve it and replace it with its own values. And so
that's kind of why you have like the meme or like the idea of the passport bros who go to foreign countries and find women who are based, which is just normal for their end. You know?
Yeah.
I wonder then what's harder to do? Is it harder to stop the art from getting infiltrated by leftism, or is it harder to harden your culture against, prevent your culture from being infiltrated?
Well, I mean, to prevent your culture from being infiltrated, you have to have at least some masculine tendencies in it. Yeah. And because the masculine tendencies of a culture are going to be what will actually say no. Yeah. Feminine tendencies aren't the kind of tendencies where you're just like, I'm putting my foot down.
No, they're agreeable.
It's agreeableness, those kind of impulses and stuff. Yeah. And whereas, that kind of stuff is important to understand people, there has to be lines where you're like, hey, this is too far. This is no. This means there has to be boundaries, because without boundaries, you have, essentially just chaos, Yeah.
I found it funny that to a lot of the people who just live in the sphere but don't criticize the Hollywood culture, how shocked they were by what she said, because they, like, some people thought it was an April Fool's joke. So somebody says, "Oh, Shakira, this is not the take." Somebody says, "Is this an April Fool's joke?" Somebody says, "Just say you didn't understand it and go." What I find interesting about that is, like, you're supposed to interpret art differently, right? One of the things about the movie was, like, I didn't like the movie. I thought the first hour of the movie was fine, and then after that I felt like it kind of fell apart. But I didn't begrudge the people that took something different from it. I just thought look, this movie isn't for me. And whatever critique there is of modern patriarchy, I thought was kind of put upon by the viewers rather than from the actual director, because the director of the movie, when asked about what the message of the movie was, couldn't really give a good answer. So I was like, look, when she was asked about this, she was like, what's the feminist message?
Do you think that she was? Do you think she couldn't give an answer because she couldn't, or she couldn't because she was unable to actually come up with a good argument that wasn't going to sound feminist? Like, she was trying to be amicable to both sides, and she wasn't capable of walking the line properly?
No, I felt that she was hit with a question where, like, at that point nobody had really questioned what the movie was or asked her to delineate for go further into her explanation, and she started umming and ahhing and couldn't really explain it. And look, that's fine. Like, if you had a surface level message to a movie that's really just a Hollywood, big budget, $100 million Hollywood blockbuster, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But when you make your movie about feminist politics or about anything like this, a lot of people might actually ask for further clarification as to what that means. Now, not the people in their sphere, because most of the people in their sphere are just going to say, rah, rah, good job, down with the patriarchy. Fine. It's a surface level Hollywood blockbuster. It's not meant for deeper critique. But if it is there, like people are claiming that it is there, and certainly plenty of people, even on the right, went into deeper critique of this movie. Some of them thought it was actually quite brilliant, and that's fine. But I just felt like if you're seeing that there, that's not what the director meant, that's kind of the point of art, right? You can take from it what you will, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with somebody saying like, look, I don't know entirely what it means, but I made it, and now it's yours to make of it what you will. I would prefer that as opposed to the dude who was making The Boys, who got really mad when like right-wing people liked The Boys because it was supposed to be a critique of those on the right. I would rather the person be amorphous and say, I don't know what it means, but if that's what you took from it, good. Now, I don't think that was her intention in that. I think she just got tripped up by the question. But a lot of people have an issue with somebody taking from this movie something different from them, especially if it's somebody that would...
Well, but that's just because people have a problem with other people having opinions.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm mad because your opinion's not mine.
Yeah.
Which is the dumbest thing in the world.
Somebody says, no one is buying her album, so she needed attention. They go for the insults real quickly.
Instantaneously. Instantaneously.
Yeah.
I mean, believe me, I have had more replies to a political tweet come back with your band sucks than anything else.
I saw you arguing.
Okay, idiot.
I saw you arguing with somebody yesterday about what was the guy saying? It's like he'd never heard of your band.
Yeah.
And one of the worst arguments he made is he listed a song. And he listed like the lyric video version, which had like way less views than the music video, which had millions of views. 90
million or something.
Yeah.
No, it was. I think it was 2 weeks. It was like 35 million.
Yeah. So, which is just a bad faith argument. You know.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's just that's the low hanging fruit. That's the easy thing. It's like, oh, it's like it's like you're ugly. Yeah. Okay, it's like if I make a point about politics and someone's like, your face is stupid. It's like, okay, it's the same thing, So and people are going to do that. It doesn't matter. But it is the low hanging fruit and the non-argument. It essentially is just, I don't like what you said. It made me mad.
Just say that. I don't care.
I thought
right.
I thought Libby Emmons actually had an interesting. She made like a 1-minute video talking.
I adore Libby.
Yeah, Libby's great. Let's listen to this.
I gotta say, I agree with Shakira about the Barbie movie. When she was asked about it in an interview, she said that her sons absolutely hated it because they thought it was emasculating. And isn't it? Here's this movie that is so female forward that when the fellas co-starring in the film got an Oscar nod, the entirety of Hollywood freaked out and said it should have gone to the female lead. Could you imagine that ever happening if it were reversed? No, because it would never happen. Shakira said that raising 2 boys, she wants them to feel powerful, and who could blame her? Trying to raise sons in this environment of female fascism is not easy. Everywhere they look, boys are told that they need to take a step back, let women lead, recognize their privilege, and squash any natural masculine tendencies because somehow who they are is just toxic. We've got to stop telling our sons that being male is problematic, that being strong and ambitious is some kind of fault, that being leader, taking charge, being innovative, wanting to protect and provide are in some way offensive. How many boys look out in an entertainment landscape and see little to no representation of themselves on screens, big or small?
That's the part I wanted to get into right now, which is like they'll make the argument that thousands of movies are made for men. Like, what actual movies are there to help men be good fathers, or what's actually showing them positive representations of masculinity these days?
None.
I would even argue back in the day, you could say that the action movies did that, but most of those these days just come down to being kind of amoral revenge flicks that don't actually have a lot of the same underpinnings that the old ones used to have.
Maybe, yeah. I mean,
I don't really know what it is about the average movie, what type of movie these days is actually a solid message for boys to actually aspire to.
I don't know.
And they would contend that there would be a lot of them. I just don't think they are. One thing,
but again, who?
Exactly.
What are they? So you're gonna make an assertion. Where? You know what I mean? It's not that there aren't any out there, because you can find some that are out there, but you're not going to find any that are new. Probably not in the past 5, 6, 7 years, or not that I can think of off the top. Maybe 5 years, right? Where there's a really, again, maybe it's Maverick, but again, it's going to be a handful of them, and you're going to have to do some searching around, So.
Also, like the other thing that's important to note in these instances, somebody left a tweet to me about this post. They said, we're supposed to love Shakira now, right? That's what you're supposed to do. I said, no, what you should do with stories like this is when somebody says something, stupid, criticize them. When somebody says something irrational that you agree with, compliment that which you agree with and criticize that which you disagree with, and worship no one, especially celebrities, because the worst thing that you could ever do is hold a celebrity to high regard, because their opinions today will not even necessarily be their opinions tomorrow, and that you shouldn't base your value or your thoughts and feelings on what celebrities think anyways. What you should do is listen to them and take it into account, because it does shift public perspective, because not everybody has that rational of a take on celebrities. So it's important to know them, because people are going to have these opinions and they're going to mirror them, because other people aren't going to be that discerning, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
that definitely makes sense to me.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.